Okay, so welcome to tonight's webinar. As you can see there, tonight we're talking about goals and attitude. And this is one of a series of 8 webinars that I run. As you can see there, the first 3, 1, 2 and 3 there, are really all about the retail side, getting started, kind of getting yourself up to speed with your catalogues, building your customer base. And then 4 and 5 are about the team building side. So number 4 is just about getting started with team building. 5 is supporting new team members. And then last week, this week, and next week, actually not next week, but I'll come back to that. 6, 7, and 8 are all about the kind of the personal development skills. Those other kind of tangible skills, I suppose you'd call them, that are not directly related to Kleeneze, but really related to kind of life in general, I suppose. But I find them really, really important. It's all very well knowing what to do and knowing how to do it, but it's what motivates you and kind of gets you going when you're maybe not feeling like doing it. Anyway, that's what we're going to be covering today. Number 7, goals and attitude. And as I was saying briefly earlier, these are all recorded. And at the end, I'll just show you where the recordings are. So if there's anything that you miss as I'm going through it, you're very welcome to go and look through the recordings. Or equally, if you wanted to look at one of the other ones, so if you've just started, for example, you might want to go and have a look at numbers 1 and 2, just to kind of get into that side of it as well. So, what we're going to cover this evening should take about half an hour. First, a bit about whether your attitude is important or not. And if, like me, you believe that it is important, then how to work on your attitude if you find that you struggle a little bit for motivation at times. And then towards that, helping with your attitude, a bit about goals and why goal setting is really important, and hopefully I can help you a little bit with that. And the fact that it is really important to spend time on your goal setting. Sometimes it's really easy to get sort of inundated with all of the day-to-day stuff. You've got families to look after, you might have another job, you've got your catalogues to put out, you might have team members to support, and you're so busy doing all of the stuff in your business, working in your business, that you don't take time to, if you like, step out a little bit and work on your business and set yourself some goals and kind of work on making your business stronger, not just busier. So that's briefly what we're going to cover. So, first question, is attitude important? And hopefully, like me, you'll think, of course it is. It's really important because it affects you in all sorts of different ways. And just as a very simple example, every distributor, when you first join Kleeneze, has exactly the same opportunity. We all start off with the same 250 catalogues. They're the same products in those catalogues. The costs to keep running your business are the same. We all have the same payment plan, with the same commission, with the same bonuses and everything. But some people are more successful than others. And the main reason why, in my experience, why people are more successful than others is it's all about their attitude. So, as an example, how do you feel when you get up in the morning? Sometimes you might sort of feel, right, I'm going to get those catalogues out, whatever it takes. It's pouring down with rain, I've got a hangover from last night, but I'll soon get up, get going, put my raincoat on, I'll get those catalogues out, whatever it takes. Or you might sort of wake up and think, oh, blimey, I feel a bit rough this morning. Maybe I'll try putting the catalogues out tomorrow instead. And a great saying to think about when you're looking at all this, and thinking about this in the morning when you wake up, when you're maybe not feeling so good, it isn't the right time maybe. But a good thing to think about is that successful people do what they know they should do, even when they don't feel like doing it. Now that just sounds like a flippant phrase, but actually if you think about it, you might think successful people are the people that have amazing skills or have invested an awful lot of time in learning new technologies or something. But actually what you find in most businesses, and Kleeneze is certainly no different, the people who are successful are just the ones that do what they know they should do. They know how to do it. In Kleeneze, it's not difficult to put some catalogues out, collect them back in again, to share the business opportunity with other people. So we know what to do. The question is, do you do it even when you don't feel like doing it? And that's the difference between successful distributors and other people who are not so successful. And your attitude, your kind of how do you kind of feel, how do you make yourself do things when you're maybe not feeling like doing it? that can make a huge difference to your success and your income. Because having a great attitude just does things like it helps you to put your catalogues out if you're feeling a bit down. And that might not be a big thing, you might be just going to be putting 50 catalogues out, it might only take you half an hour or an hour or so. You might decide not to bother, or you might decide, actually, I'm going to go and do it anyway, I'm not even going to think about how I feel. And it might encourage you to chat and smile with your customers when you're delivering things, even if you're not feeling great yourself. And all of those just little things help to build a great rapport with your customers. Oh, hi guys, sorry, a few people there saying the sound is breaking up. Sorry, I'll try and talk a bit more slowly. Hopefully it'll recover a bit. Those two things there, just putting the catalogues out when you know you should, and just being in a sort of cheerful mood when you're delivering things to your customers, those will help you build a great rapport with your customers. And that rapport is really, really important, because that builds your strong, loyal customer base. And having a great attitude also helps you to put out some lead generating leaflets. So if you're interested in the team building and you're going to be doing some leafleting, you might wake up one day and decide, oh, I feel a bit under the weather, I won't bother. But having a great attitude will encourage you to put them out even when you're not feeling great. And it also encourages you to make those follow-up calls. If you're feeling a bit nervous, and most people do for a while, when you start making those follow-up calls, if you're a bit unsure about it, you can feel a bit nervous. But having a great attitude says, well, I'll do it anyway. Even if I make a few mistakes, I'll learn from it and I'll get better and better by practicing it. And that's a great attitude, rather than, oh, I'm a bit nervous, what will they say, what if they don't like it? Because you can't control how they're going to react, but what you can control is whether you do it or not. And just those little activities, by having that great attitude, those little activities might bring in that extra team member this month. And the bigger your team, the bigger your residual income that you get from the business. So just little things like that, that great attitude, it can increase your weekly orders just from £250 to £500 a week, something like that, just by smiling and cheerfully delivering things to your customers. It can increase your team's orders, and it can increase your income from £50 a week to £500 a week if you have those disciplines of regularly putting out in those actions, even when you're not sure whether you feel like doing them or not. That attitude can make a huge difference. Okay, that's all very well saying get yourself a good attitude. How do you do that then? I don't think it's as easy as just popping down to your local Tesco's and buying a sort of £1.50 of good attitude. How can you actually improve it? Very good, Amanda and Andrew. There's a number of different ways. So one is by having some life philosophies. Now that sounds very grand, and I'm not going to go into that in a lot of detail at the moment, because the next webinar that we do, webinar 8, talks about that in a lot more detail. But another thing that really helps your attitude is success. And what is success? Well, today we're talking about success is achieving your goals. Whatever your goals might be, if you can achieve them, then that's successful, isn't it? You're being successful. And if you can be successful, that gives you a good attitude. That kind of makes you feel confident. Yeah, very true, Dave. Very true. So, achieving your goals, that's a little area that I think is really, really important, and I find it's really helpful for me, and it just gives you a good attitude, it helps with your motivation, and it's just a great way to kind of consistently keep going with the business. And by constantly setting and achieving goals, that's a guaranteed route to success, because when you achieve a goal that you set yourself, it gives you a huge kind of sort of buzz. And you should do this for yourself, but you should also do it with your team. So set personal goals, but if you work with your team and set goals together, that can be really, really powerful. So, before we start talking about what goals you should set, it's really important to understand why you're in this business. What is your why, your reason? Because when you first start to set goals, this is what happens. You set a goal, you start to sort of give yourself a little target for something you want to achieve. So you create a plan. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 100 catalogues out every day for 4 days, and then I'm going to do this. And so you have your plan. And then you take the first step. So Monday morning comes, you get up full of enthusiasm, you put your catalogues out, and then some obstacles appear. So those obstacles can be anything. They could just be, the car breaks down, or you twist your ankle, or it's raining, or you've got a hangover, or who knows what those obstacles can be. And if there aren't any obstacles in your plan, maybe it's not ambitious enough. It's perfectly normal that if you've got an ambitious plan and you've set yourself some goals, that obstacles will appear. But it's having a strong reason why, a big motivation. This is what will motivate you to overcome those obstacles. And one of the things that I found is having emotional obstacles, and this can be tied to your family if that's important to you, will really help. It's all very well having goals. Having emotional goals and emotional reasons why are really important. So that could be, for example, rather than just saying, my goal is to earn an extra £100 a week by the time I've been in the business for 3 months or something like that, which is fine. But actually, if behind that what it is you'd like to be able to take the kids out for a trip to Alton Towers, or for a pizza and a film once a week, or whatever it might be, then having kind of that emotional link to it makes it a lot more powerful. I'll just give you a little example. You may have come across this before. If I set you a goal, a challenge, which was I put a plank of wood on the ground, a normal piece of plank of wood, so I don't know, 20 feet long by about 6 inches wide, and said, I'd just like you to walk along that plank and I'll give you £20 if you can do that. Then, it's a fairly straightforward goal. You can probably get on there, walk straight across, no problem at all. If I took that same plank of wood to the top of a 50-story tower block and put it in between the next door tower block, which was maybe just 20 feet away, so it's exactly the same plank of wood, and I just take you to the top there, the wind's blowing, it's raining a little bit, you can see the plank wobbling a little bit in the wind, and I say, okay, it's the same plank of wood, here's that £20, will you go walk across it again? Chances are you would say, not in a million years. 20 quid to risk walking across that thin plank of wood. It's the same plank of wood, but obviously suddenly there's an obstacle coming the way. It's a bit higher up than it was before. So how do we make that a bit more attractive? Well, supposing your daughter was on the other building and the other building was on fire, and the only way she could possibly escape would be to come across the plank of wood with you. Then I think you wouldn't need the £20, would you? You'd work somehow. You would work away. You might go down on your hands and knees, not looking down, look straight ahead, crawl across there, grab your daughter, bring her back, and you would do whatever it takes to get across that plank of wood because of the situation. So that strong reason, the emotional reason why you wanted to get across the plank of wood, is what took you there. Nothing had changed. It was the same plank of wood in the same sort of scary environment, but your reason was what had changed. And you can have those strong reasons in any kind of situation. So what else will help with your attitude? Well, as I said earlier, goal setting and doing this regularly and achieving those goals will provide regular successes, and those successes are what will really give you that motivation to keep going and keep pushing yourself and keep wanting to achieve more and more exciting goals. So a good way to start when you're thinking about setting your goals is just to ask yourself that question: what would you change in your life? And I'm not asking you to sort of think about this now, but it's certainly worth spending half an hour or an hour, grab a cup of tea, get your other half together and say, what would we like to change? And it might just be, you're sick of the car that's always breaking down, or you're sick of never being able to go out for a meal and always having to sort of buy the cheap Tesco's food or whatever. Or it might just be that you're sick of the house that you're wanting to live in. You've always wanted to live in a detached house, or whatever it might be. And by writing a list of things that you might like to change in your life, that's a great way to start thinking about what goals would I like to aim for, what would I like to change. And what I suggest is you start off thinking of some short-term goals. So these are things that you can achieve in 1 to 3 months. So an example might be that you look to buy a new laptop. You use your computer a lot. It's really slow. It's always breaking down. You're always having to sort of bash it with a hammer, tie it up with sellotape. Or maybe you'd just love to be able to treat the kids to a day out at Alton Towers. You know, I mean, the twins have got their birthday coming up. Wouldn't it be great to go to Alton Towers for the day? But that wouldn't be cheap, so you might need to sort of save up towards doing that. So that could be an example of some short-term goals. Now, medium-term goals, I would suggest something that you might be interested in to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months. So that could be something like maybe paying off some credit card debt, or saving up for a family holiday in Spain. Maybe you haven't been overseas for a while. It'd be really nice to be able to go on a holiday in Spain, or Ibiza or Greece, or wherever you wanted to go. And that could be something that might take you 6 to 12 months to work towards. And a longer term goal, so this could be something that might be a year and a half, a year to 5 years away. This could be something like, you'd love to be able to move into your own house, so you need to save up a deposit for that. And maybe it will take you a few years to do that. Or you're just looking to buy a new car, or that brand new Mercedes that you want to put a deposit on. Whatever it might be, it has to be something that's important to you. And as I said, rather than just saying, long term, I'd like to have £10,000, have an idea of what you would actually use it for. Because when you've got something visual, you can really kind of, if you like, almost feel it and smell whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve. And those kind of visual hints, if that's the right word, make the goal a lot more powerful. Now, that's all great. Everyone can set these goals. We can have a nice little exercise writing down what we'd like to be doing in 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, and so on. But whatever it is, it's all very well setting them. How would you actually achieve those goals? So the way that you achieve goals is by taking actions. It's all very well writing them on a piece of paper and drawing pictures of them and imagining them, but you need to take some actions. And the actions that you take will produce some results. So, as an example, if the result that you're aiming for in your kind of short-term goal was a new laptop, I don't know how much a new laptop would cost you, I don't know, 300 or 400 quid, maybe 500 quid. I'm sure you can spend a lot of money on a top-of-the-range one. And maybe what you need to do to save up that money is you need to put out 200 catalogues twice a week, maybe. Or if you're looking to build a team, maybe your goal is to deliver 500 catalogues twice a week. Now, what you've done here, by just sitting down and working out what is your goal, what is the result, the goal that you want, and how much might that cost you, and what actions can you take when you're in your Kleeneze business to achieve that. By writing down the actions, you've suddenly got something that you can control. Because you can't necessarily say, oh yes, if I think hard enough, I'll have that £500 for the laptop. Then just thinking as hard as you like won't get that laptop. But putting those catalogues out twice a week will build you those customers, find you those customers that will generate the money for you. So you've suddenly got something that you can now control. Same with the medium term one. If it's a family holiday, maybe the actions that you need to take would be to keep delivering your catalogues, blanketing an area all around where you live until you've got a customer base of 500 customers, for example. Or if you're trying to do it through team building, then maybe your goal is the actions that you can take is to make sure you talk to at least 10 people every day about the business. And again, by writing down what the actions are that you're going to take to achieve that goal, you've now got something that you can control. Similar with long term, new Mercedes might be talking about, I don't know, £20,000 or something. And in order to build that over a sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 year period, you might have to generate 30 leads a week to grow your team. You might want to start running your own weekly webinar to help support your team. Because as your team grows, maybe everyone can't get together for your little sizzles at home all the time. So maybe you need to run a webinar for them. Whatever the actions are that you want to take to help you achieve your goals, you can kind of make a note of those. And what I'm a big believer in is start off with small actions that you know you can achieve almost. So as I said at the beginning, if your first goal, 1 to 3 months, was just to be able to buy a new laptop, and that all you needed to do to achieve that was put your 200 catalogues out twice a week, then you can do that. You know what you need to do. to put 200 catalogues out. You can work through your timetable, and by doing the actions regularly, persistently and consistently we talk about, then you know that over a period of time, and it might take a month, it might take 2 months, it might take 3 months, but you will achieve the goal that you've set yourself. And each week, as I said there, that successes, those little successes, give you huge motivation, because every week you get a little success. The actions that you set yourself, I'm going to put my 200 catalogues out, and I'm going to do that twice a week. Every week, whenever you do that, you give yourself a little tick in the box and you get more motivated. And every couple of months, you've got a bigger success. So after a few weeks, you've got enough to pay for that laptop. Buying that laptop and ticking off in your box the fact that you've achieved your very first goal is really satisfying, and that makes you even more motivated, and you start to set your next goal, and that can be a bit more challenging now because you know you can do it, you've done it before. And then once a year, maybe you achieve a long-term goal. And this is seriously motivating now. When you've been on the holiday to Spain, you're halfway towards saving up for the brand new car, whatever it might be, you're really, really motivated. And all of this motivation that started off with something quite small, just making sure you put your catalogues out once or twice a week, all of that motivation, just by doing it constantly, you're constantly improving your attitude. And every morning now, you wake up and you're dead keen to get those catalogues out, to get those leaflets delivered, to make those follow-up calls, whatever it needs to do, because you know it works, because you've got all this history of success that that will kind of drive you forward. Now, this all sounds very grand, and we said earlier that there will be obstacles in any journey. So what can we expect on our journey? So a good thing to think about, any path that you're on, any path without obstacles, is probably not leading anywhere worthwhile. As I mentioned earlier, if you've got a plan and a goal and it goes very, very smoothly without any obstacles at all, you probably didn't set yourself a challenging enough goal. But this is typically how it would go. When you first start off, you're normally quite excited. You first join Kleeneze, you're kind of hopeful, enthusiastic, excited that everything's going to go really, really well. And you've decided, I'm really going to make a go of this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be successful. And then you start to think, after a while, you start to get a bit frustrated. Maybe you don't get all your catalogues back, or you start to talk to a few people, telling people that you've joined Kleeneze, and there are lots of negative people about. So they say, oh, you don't want to try that. My brother-in-law in Afghanistan tried that 3 years ago and it never works, so it never works for anybody. There are negative people out there, and you will start to question, oh, did I make a mistake here? I'm not sure if this is really working. And that can get even worse. And you can get to a point where you feel really rubbish, and it can be a normal phase, and it can happen to everybody. You can be in the business just a couple of days, you put your first catalogues out, it pours down with rain, and you're sort of thinking, oh crikey, what have I let myself in for? Or it could be 2 months down the line, or it could be 2 years down the line. And what happens is you start to stay away from the meetings, you stop joining in with the webinars, you find excuses for why you can't go out, you find faults with the catalogues, or the houses where you live, or the shoes that you're wearing, or whatever it might be. But having that good attitude by setting goals and achieving those goals leads you to the fight stage. And the fight stage basically gets you thinking that you're not going to give up. You know that success is just around the corner because you've done it several times. And you start to focus on the goals, not the obstacles. There's obstacles in life all the time, but if you're focusing on that laptop or the holiday or the new car, you focus on that and you don't worry about the obstacles, you just get round them. And so you go back to attending the events, you're communicating with your sponsor, you're enthusiastic again, and that drives you through those obstacles to achieve those goals that we talked about. Okay, so we've kind of just about covered what I was going to go through this evening. A few questions to make sure everybody wasn't fast asleep, or maybe just to see if you were. Has anyone got any goals at the moment that they'd like to share with us? What are the things that you'd like to achieve in the next, say, 1 to 3 months? Paying off loans. Oh, a new laptop for Trish. Brilliant. 10 active wide, Haley, that's a really good one. Now that's interesting, Haley. 10 active wide is a good goal, but what I would say is you need to think about what will the benefit of that be for you. What would you do with the income and the money that you've got with that? Yeah, getting a car service, Helen, that would be great, wouldn't it? If you just feel like you can get that done, gives you that confidence that it's not going to break down for you. Sue, buy a new van. That's fantastic. A new hubcap. Excellent. Okay, I mean that's great. It's because obviously everybody will have different goals depending on your own situation. Yeah, that's great, Haley. Okay, so that's good. Anyone got any kind of medium or longer term goals they want to share with us? Yeah, I mean, going gold is great, Amanda. I mean, apart from anything else, qualify. Yeah, Helen, that's great. Qualifying for a Kleeneze holidays are brilliant. We're off to Venice next month, and they are unbelievable. The first one that you go on, I strongly believe is always the best. So it's really, really worth working hard to achieve that. And Amanda and Andrew, if you can get to gold, that's a big step in going on one of those conferences as well. Haley, did you go on the cruise? I think you went on the cruise earlier this year, didn't you? Yeah, I remember. Ah, brilliant. So great. I mean, there's lots of kind of great goals here, guys, and hopefully, ooh, restoring classic beetle. That sounds good. Hopefully, by having some strong goals that you can kind of visualize, it will just kind of, you know, you need to sometimes break it down a little bit. Sometimes you have an amazing goal. You know, I'd love to have a Ferrari, but if you just start thinking, okay, how will putting out my extra 20 catalogs deliver a Ferrari for me? It can be a bit of a big gap between what you can do and what you want to achieve. So make sure that you kind of have some shorter goals and smaller term goals so that you can achieve your goals regularly. Excuse me. But if you've been in the Kleeneze business long enough, you will know that if you take the actions, the catalog, certainly on the catalog side and on the team building side, those actions, if you persistently and consistently take them, they will inevitably lead to the result that you're aiming for. Okay, just about wrapping this up now then, guys. So that was number 7 we just finished. The next webinar is 8. It's all about personal development, and I talk a lot. I mentioned very briefly in the webinar tonight about philosophies, life philosophies, which is a bit of a vague term, but hopefully the next one, number 8, will clarify that for you all. Now, normally that would be next week, but I'm actually doing a little bit of a tour next week. I'm going up to see a couple of team members up north, kind of Bradford and China Critchard. There's a couple of opportunity meetings that I'm going to, so there won't be a conference next week. However, I did mention that these are all recorded, so let me just put it on that slide. I'm just going to stop the recording of this one for now.